Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Ali. I'm co-president of Applied Machine Learning Days Africa.
And hi, I'm Valeria, Associate Director and Senior Principal Data Scientist at the Novartis Institute for Biomedical Research.
So Valeria, welcome to Marrakesh, marhaba bik.
Thank you.
So
Very
how's
nice
your
being
stay
here.
so far?
So thanks so much for having me here. I really I'm enjoying the conference. I love being in this country. It's been a very nice time so far.
Excellent, excellent. Very important question. Did you have some Moroccan tea already?
Yes, I did. Tried the unsweetened one, which was my default choice. But then people suggested me to have the sweet one, and it was very, very tasty.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to ask you a question. What's your typical day at work?
My typical day at work, I think it's bucketed in like 2-3 parts, I would say. Lots of meetings where we usually discuss strategy, priorities around like the major data science projects that we have. There is one part around really leading the concrete aspects of projects. So I work with metrics teams and multidisciplinary teams really to advance how we use data science into like our core topics. And the third part is now that I have also a team to lead, it's really about thinking about the growth of the people in my team and try to remove obstacles and help them growing in their career.
Well, so you must have quite busy days. You mentioned something that I really want to talk about. You mentioned cross-disciplinary teams. So obviously you work in the healthcare, and healthcare is a comprehensive field. So how do you think we are doing at linking between the technical software parts and the practitioners in the medical field? And what can we improve to have a bigger impact in everyone's lives?
Yeah, you're raising a very important point. I think especially when working in a multidisciplinary field where data science is more like, or machine learning in general, are like tools that really help us discover the next so what, or really what would be the next steps in our research, is very important to not work in isolation or in a silos. So I think the most successful and impactful projects we have and we work on are when we really assemble a multidisciplinary team that are really working together every day. And what I mean multidisciplinary is, let's say you're working on a project focusing on the biology of a disease, then you really make sure that in your team you have data scientists, machine learning engineers, but also biologists, biomarker experts, and clinicians really working with you to build the concept, and drive the implementation and the adoption of the results. Okay,
so this cross-disciplinary approach comes after a pandemic. We have lived 2 years of pandemic on lockdown. Do you feel like the actual physical isolation has accelerated being able to have online meetings, maybe bring people closer, or not really affected?
I think it's a mixed bag. Definitely using virtual tools and connecting everyone was remotely kind of zeroed the hierarchy and really allowed to really connect very fast to the experts that you really needed for a project. So I really enjoyed that. It really made everybody on the same level and just driven by the curiosity and really just wanting to advance research. On the other side, there are some elements that they're very hard to replace, like this small coffee break and chit chat where you just can more naturally exchange your thoughts, but also understand the feelings of people that are having, like especially if they're struggling. This is something that it's a little bit more difficult to capture when working from home or remotely.
I totally relate to what you're saying. Earlier at the coffee break, I had like an appreciation moment. I was like, recently we were actually locked down in our homes, and now seeing everyone being able to connect and ask questions is something we dearly missed. And the third point you mentioned earlier was about the growth of people, and virtual tools maybe can make us harder to understand people's feelings and how they're doing. What would you recommend to some managers about being able to be empathetic and be able to listen? How would you recommend someone to help people grow online?
I think it's important to do frequent check-ins. Can be just, writing on a chat, just feeling the temperature maybe after an important meeting, getting that frequent feedback about how people, reacted to maybe that decision, or if they presented something, what was their feeling or how people perceived it. So it's, and this can be done virtually very easily. It's really like one message away. Having like maybe shorter but more frequent one-to-ones meetings, invite people also to get feedback from other colleagues. I think that can help. Sometimes, we struggle always with the same problems. So just hearing that also others are having the same
You'd be
issues.
surprised. Okay.
Yeah. And can be, frustrated because a node in the cluster is very slow, or all the way to having trouble with maybe some stakeholders. So it's, I think, like sharing with others, it's very important. And virtually, it's kind of easy to do. But you have to be more proactive. That's the difference. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little bit about laws. So you're working in the healthcare, so obviously about artificial intelligence. The more data you have, and of course better and quality, but the more likely you're able to improve the quality of the services. And GDPR and other legal laws make it more harder and more comprehensive to maybe get data. So how did the legal aspect impact you in the data collections, and do you have any additional thoughts on that topic?
So when you started the question, I want to ask you about laws. I understood you were talking about laws. I was like, is it asking about laws functions? So fortunately not. No, regulation. I think it's very important that we have these regulations in place. Definitely making sure that if we are using a piece of data, the patient or the individual behind it really agree to that. It's very important. On a enterprise point of view, for companies that have the opportunity to collect this data or have this data, it's a lot about what happens in the background with the data management and the data flows, where you're sure that you have to create basically a layer where you're double checking if that piece of information is fit for purpose or can be used for other down the line analysis. Also, it's changing a little bit when we work with companies that have now in place ways to preserve, patient identity, so like anonymization, but they have in place also regulation from GDPR, makes them much more appealing for a company like Novartis or other pharma companies really to work with. I'm very supportive of this because of really like thinking of the use of patient data for the right purposes. And on the other side, it does require organizations really to get that data flow and data access also very well organized.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. Last topic that I want to bring today is 30% of people in STEM are women. As Applied Machine Learning Days Africa, we really want to achieve gender equality to empower women and get more into tech. So first of all, how does it feel being a woman a successful woman in a tech company, and what do you think we should do more in order to encourage women to get into tech?
Yeah, this is a topic that I also care a lot about. I think there's no right answer, and there's really not, one path to it. I think we talk often about, equality. I think when you have underrepresented groups, at a certain point, it's better if organizations actually apply the concept of equity. So really pushing and promoting and helping them for that kind of entry barrier. So I think this is what companies, I believe, should do more, especially in STEM field. The other main thing is about education. So really, when I was in college, when I started, I was in engineering, and there were not so many women. Or also when I was in high school, and I already knew I wanted to be an engineer back then, not so many of my female friends were thinking like that. So it's a lot about the kind of the type of education or the type of teachers that you have, and examples early on I think in career studies. And the other part is around, so I always look up at mentors. So if I see also stronger female leaders or amazing scientists that are outside the stereotype of the older scientists, I really follow them, and I find inspiration in their career, and so I think it's important for more senior leaders, that in this case, as you mentioned, like female, to reach out to their network and give an example, and just make the younger generation just more comfortable, because it's you're a computer scientist or a computer scientist, an engineer or an engineer. It's like, it doesn't matter, anything.
Well, I know I definitely found inspiration in this talk and the talk that you gave earlier at Applied Machine Learning Days Africa. And I hope you too, women or men, have found this interview inspiring. Thank you, Valeria.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Bye.
Bye.